Hello, welcome to Oxford Heirlooms. This is lesson 3 and will be the final lesson in Smock a Sampler or learning how to smock. Hopefully you have finished your homework from lesson 2. You've got all of your half-space chevrons done. Your half-space chevrons with the cables are finished. And you've done your trellis all the way and halfway, all the way across the length of the fabric. And you've got all of your little pink 6-petal flowerets in here. And it should be starting to look really, really pretty. Okay, now the next step, the next stitches that we're going to do, the next pattern, is we're going to go down here underneath the pink and blue crossover. There's a blue pattern that's got little pink dots every once in a while. That's going to be the pattern that we're going to be working on right now. Okay, now on the teaching sampler, I'm going to use let me start with my red pen. Now we're going to be doing the same, we're going to be doing trellis stitches again. But this time we're going to change it up just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to be starting, as you can see, on row 11 and a half. We're going to do a down cable and then trellis, quarter step up to row number 11 and do a cable. Come back down 2 stitches, 2 steps, and do another cable. We'll go up and down. So we will start this particular pattern by doing the top of this design. Okay, we're going to be doing the top of the design first. And once again, you're going to have to pretend that there's a halfway point and a quarter step point also. Okay, so we need blue. Okay, so let me get my sampler over here. I've got a piece of blue floss already separated that we didn't use before. Let me go ahead and thread my needle. And tie a little overhand knot at the end of it. Okay, all right, now we want to begin, as I said on the smocking sampler, we want to begin on row 11 and a half. So we need to count down to row 11 and a half. Okay, so just start counting from the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. So we're going to start at 11 and a half. So I'm going to come in on the left side of the pleat, not quite halfway, just almost, because we need to leave room for the next row of stitches. And we'll do a down cable. And then we're going to quarter step up to row number 11. Going to quarter step and then go all the way up. So this stitch is just slightly different than the stitches we have done before. But they should all start to be feeling fairly familiar and comfortable to you. And you shouldn't really have too much trouble moving from stitch to stitch by this point in time. That is, if you've done all your homework. Now do quarter steps down halfway and do another cable. And then quarter step back up to row number 11 and do a cable up at the top. and then quarter step down halfway, go a quarter and then a halfway, so instead of alternating all the way down and halfway down, we're just going halfway down each time. Can you see what I've got going here? Okay, I'll finish this up with a cable up at the top. And then quarter step down halfway. Okay, so let me continue this pattern for a little ways and I'll be right back. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished that all the way across the length of the pleated fabric because since this is the last lesson, I don't want to be leaving homework for myself to be doing. Okay, now if you'll look on the sample in your photograph or here on the sample, you'll see there's a series of diamonds going across, okay? So we need to mirror image what we just did above down below, okay? So what we're doing right now, we're working between rows 11 and 12, and we're doing 2 rows of half space trellis. So we have done the top part, we have completed the top part of all the diamonds. We need to start in here on row 11 and a half again and do an up cable and then step down 2 quarter steps and do a cable on row 12. Go up and then back down. And so we're going to mirror image what we did above down below to form these little diamond shapes. Okay, all right, so I need to get a little bit more blue thread. Get my blue thing. Working from the price tag in, I'm going to pull out 3 loops and cut that off, and then split the 6 strands into 3 and 3. Just gently unwind it with your finger. Okay, and then set 1 set of 3 strands off to the side and we'll use it later. Okay, so let's load up our needle. Tie an overhand knot at the end of your floss. And then we're going to begin on row 11 and a half. Now before we started with a down cable, we're going to start with an up cable. So I'm coming in right next to where I started before. Can you see where I'm coming in at? So I'm going to do a mirror image of what's above and step down from 11 down to 12. Okay, now I need a quarter step down to row 12. and then do a cable. And then quarter step back up and close that diamond up. And do another cable. And then quarter step down. And then quarter step back up to close off the second diamond. Okay, now I will continue this pattern for a while, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I have completed my 2 rows of half space trellis. Okay, now if you look at the teaching sampler, the next part of this design we have to do, if you'll notice, it looks like there's a heart with a diamond and a heart and a diamond and a heart and a diamond, okay? And I have one little error in my picture. I've got this drawn going down to row 13, but it should only go down to row 12 and a half. Okay, all right, so we're gonna start on row 12 and a half and do a cable, step up and do a cable, then we're gonna step down 5 times past the line. We'll go 1/4 step past row number 13. And then we'll do a cable, 5 steps back up, halfway down to do the diamond, 5 steps down to do the heart, halfway down to do the diamond, 5 steps down to do the next heart, then the next diamond, and so forth and so on, okay? So let me get some more blue floss loaded into my needle. And the step we're doing this time is going to be between rows 12 and 13 and a half. We're going to do 1 1/4 space trellis with a half space trellis. Get my needle threaded. There we go. Tie a little overhand knot. Okay, so we're going to start down here on row 12 and a half. And we're going to do a down cable, and then we're going to work our way up with 2 half steps. Do a down cable, and then 2 half steps up, to the cable on the bottom of the diamond. Okay, now this next one, we're going to do 5 steps. We need to finish our cable up here. And then we're going to step down 5 steps to make the heart. Okay, so we're going to go 1/4, 1/2, three-quarters, all the way, and then one more quarter. Now you notice this one more quarter is going to line up with the bottom of that diamond because hearts are symmetrical. Okay, now finish it off with a cable down at the bottom. And then start to do quarter steps back up here to this cable. And go back up to the line. Then do a quarter step. Another quarter step. Another quarter step. And then back up, match up where the cable is, and do another cable. And that completes our first heart. We've got 1/2 of a diamond and 1 heart. Let's see what we got there. Now the next one's going to be a diamond because we're going to alternate now. Heart, diamond, heart, diamond, heart, diamond. So we're going to step down 2 halves, 2 quarter steps. Going to go quarter step and then halfway. Do a cable. And then quarter step back up. And finish that diamond off with a cable. Okay, see what we've got here? So it's not exactly a mirror reverse, but it is similar to the stitches that we've done before. Now this one has to be 5 steps down. Okay, so that's quarter, 1/2, 3/4, all the way, and then 1 1/4 to finish off the point, the bottom point of the heart. And you'll notice that the bottom of the heart matches up with the bottom of the diamond. Okay, and then 5 steps back up. Match up your cables. Okay, so we've got half of a diamond, a heart, a diamond, another heart. So this next one's going to be a diamond. And we'll continue this pattern all the way across. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our series of hearts and diamonds alternating all the way along from one end of the fabric to the other. Now, if we look at our sample, in each of the little diamonds, there's a little pink dot. Now, this dot is called a satin stitch. I think I mentioned one time that in smocking, we very, very seldom go back through the same pleat twice, but in making a satin stitch, we're going to do 2 little stitches in the same place. So on our teaching sampler, we're going to be coming back in and we'll do 2 little pink stitches inside each of the diamonds. Okay, and we don't have that listed down here. Okay, now I'm gonna have to have some pink floss. Now, grabbing the loose end from the price tag end, pull out 3 loops, 2, 3, and cut that off, and then split it up into 3 and 3 strands. And separate that. And then set one of the sets of 3 strands aside to be used later. And let's load up our needle with some pink floss. Tie an overhand knot in here. Okay, now these 2 little pink satin stitches, we need to select the 2 pleats that are in the center of each of these diamonds. So I'm going to come up in the center of the diamond. I'm going to go to the next pleat over, but I'm going to come all the way back through 2 pleats to where I started before. Let me see if we can see this. Okay, so that's 1 little stitch. And then on the other stitch, we'll simply go into the back. And that leaves 2 stitches out on the front. Can you see that, where that leaves 2 stitches out on the front? And we'll tie each one of these off. Clip our floss, tie another overhand knot, and we will continue to make little pink satin stitches in each of the diamonds. Okay, let's do another one. Come up in the 2 center pleats, go over to the next pleat over, but come all the way back to the first pleat and do 1 stitch, and then for the second stitch, just go into the back and tie it off. And that leaves us a little 2-stitch satin stitch. And it's covered over 2 pleats. Okay, I'll do 1 more, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera. Okay. In the next diamond over, simply find the 2 middle pleats, come up in the middle of it, go to the next pleat over, but come all the way back through to the first pleat, make that 1 satin stitch, and then go into the back. For the second satin stitch. Can you see that? And tie it off. Okay, now I will continue this off camera. Okay, I've got all of my little pink satin stitches sewn in to the middle two pleats inside each one of the diamonds. So now we have one more pattern to complete on our smocking sampler, and then we'll be finished. We've got these pink, they kind of look like big or hexagons, chains with little flowers, and if you can look closely, I have gone ahead and put little green leaves underneath the flowers, okay, because in smocking, 3 colors always looks better than 2 colors. Okay, so what we're gonna do, once again, we're gonna have to eyeball the halfway mark in between rows 14 and 15. I won't draw that this time, but we're gonna start with pink, and we're gonna start on row 14 and a half with a down cable. We're gonna step up 2 quarter steps, and then we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up cables with 4 down cables, 9 cables altogether. Then we'll do 2 steps down and do a cable, 2 steps up and do 9 cables, 2 steps down, do a cable, 2 steps up, and then do 9 cables, 5 up, 4 down, and so on and so forth as we make our way around. And then when we get finished with this row, we will come back and do the mirror image. Now you can see in my picture, in my teaching sampler, I've only got the little flowers every other little hexagon, but knowing how to do 6-petal flowerets is so important with smocking that I have changed the design a little bit to do them inside of each one of the little pink hexagons. Okay, so I've got some pink floss, and I'm gonna load it up on my needle. Tie a little overhand knot at the end of the floss, just so that you just have a little bit. Let's see if I can get that to focus in. Just a little bit hanging down. Okay. All right, so on the sampler that we're creating, we're gonna count down to row 14 and half. Okay? So they're tied 2 together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 and a half will be right here. So we're going to come up not quite all the way halfway, just slightly above the halfway mark. Can you see where I'm coming in at? Okay, I'm on row 14 and a half. Okay, we're going to do a down cable, and then we're going to do 2 quarter steps up to row 14. Okay, here's 1 quarter step. And here's another quarter step that takes us up to row 14. Now we're going to count, and we're going to do 9 cables alternating up, down, up, down, up, down. The first one will be up. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, And the 9th one is an up cable. Okay, now we can always go back and count these if we need to. We should have 5 ups and 4 downs. So I'm going to count the 5 ups as I'm looking at these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to quarter step down halfway, not quite halfway, because we need to have room to do our other mirror image underneath here. And do a cable. And then quarter step up, back up to row 14, and do 9 cables again. Okay, so that second quarter step gets us back up to row 14. Now we're going to do 9 cables. Okay, that's 1. The first one is an up cable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you lose count when you're counting, you can always go back and just simply count the up cables. You should have 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're going to do 2 quarter steps down to about the halfway mark. And do a cable once you get down there. And then quarter step back up to row 14. And do 9 cables. Okay, so now we'll do 9 cables, okay? And you can always tell you've got 9 cables if you've got 5 up cables and 4 down cables. Okay, so I'm going to continue this off camera. Okay, I've got the top half of that bottom pattern completed. Each of them have 9 cables across the top, 5 up cables and 4 down cables, and those 4 down cables are going to come into play in a little bit. We're going to use them to count to the center to put our little flowerets in there. But looking back at the teaching sampler again, we're going to load up with pink floss one more time. We're going to start on row 14 and a half again, and we're going to do an up cable. Then we're going to do 2 quarter steps down to row 15, do 9 cables, 2 quarter steps up, cable, down 2 quarter steps, 9 cables, up 2 quarter steps, 1 cable, down 2 quarter steps, over 9 cables, up, cable, across, and so on and so forth, all the way across the pattern. Okay? All right, so let me load up my, okay, and what we were doing here, we were doing rows 14, 15, 2 rows of half space trellis cable. 2 rows of half space trellis cable. So let me load up my needle with pink floss one more time. Or I hope it's one more time, because I made it all the way across with 1 piece of floss up here. So I should make it all the way across with 1 piece of floss down below also. Okay, tie a little overhand knot so it'll catch on the back of the fabric. Okay, now we're gonna start at row 14 and a half again. And before we did a down cable, this time we're gonna do an up cable and start working our way across again. Okay, we've done the up cable. Now we have to do 2 quarter steps down. Okay, now we're down to row 15. Now we need to do 9 cables. So this time we'll have 5 down cables and 4 up cables. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 more is 9. Okay, now we're gonna quarter step up to that little cable that we had up here and do an up cable. That's 1 quarter step. That's another quarter step. Then do an up cable right below where we had the down cable. And we have closed up the first of the little octagons. Okay, so quarter step back down to row 15 again. And do 9 cables. Okay, we're down at 15 now. Let's do 9 cables. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now we're going to quarter step back up to where that little trellis comes down. That's 1 quarter and a half. Do a cable to close it up. Okay, so we have completed 2 of these little patterns so far. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. You can see how nice that is. Now notice the down cables up above match up with the down cables down below. So the 2 little pleats are kind of held together. Okay, so I will complete the rest of this row off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay, we've got all of the pink design done, top and bottom. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do, really we're getting close to being almost the last thing we need to do, is we need to come back and do some little blue 6-petal flowerets with little green leaves that are going to be 3 cable stitches underneath them. So I've got some blue floss And I'm going to load up my needle. Okay, tie a little knot in it. Okay, now on the teaching sampler, the template itself, I'm going to use the blue pen. What we're going to do is we're going to find the middle 4 pleats, because as you'll recall from the pink flowerettes that we did, they cover 4 pleats. Okay, so we're going to find the 4 middle pleats and do in each one of the little chains instead of just every other one. We're going to do a little 6-petal flowerette in each one. Okay, so this is where you just have to develop an eye for figuring out which are the 4 middle pleats. Okay, now I'll show you a little trick on this one. There are 4 down cables inside. So, and each one of the down cables is holding 2 cables. Can you see that? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 down cables. And each one is holding two plates. So we need to go to the middle 2 cables, which are the middle 4 pleats, and come in at about row 14 and a half. And we're going to make a 6-petal flowerette just like we did before when we were doing the pink ones. So we're going to come in and do 2 cables, a down cable and an up cable. And then we'll go into the back so now we've got 3 little petals. That's half of our 6-petal flowerette. Now I'm going to turn it upside down and work back the other direction. We're going to come back in on the pleat that we just went out on, just right above it. Can you see where I'm coming in at? And we'll do a down, up, down, or we'll do a down and an up, and then we'll do part of a down cable. So there's a down. There's my 5th little petal. And the 6th petal will simply spread that pleat apart and go back into the back. Can you see what I'm doing there? Okay, and then that completes a little 6-petal flowerette in the center of that pink border. Let me tie this off and we'll do the next one. Tying a little overhand knot in there so that we can begin on the next one. Okay, once again, we need to find the center 4 pleats inside of this pink design. So I'm going to come up right here. Do a down cable. Then do an up cable. And then on the next down cable, we'll go into the back of the fabric. Now we're going to turn it upside down and come back in right where we just went out, right above it. Do a down cable, an up cable, and then on the 6th petal, we'll go into the bag and tie it off. Okay, so now we've got 2 done down here, completed. Tie another little overhand knot so we can get ready to do the next flowerette. Okay. Okay, I will complete these off camera. Okay, so now I have completed sewing in all of the little 6-petal flowerettes inside of the little pink hexagons. Okay, now the final step we need to do, if we look at the sampler, look at it up close, there are 3 little stitches in green, so that there's some little green leaves up underneath there. Okay, all right, now on our teaching sampler, what we've just done, row 14.5, we did the 6-petal flowerettes. Now we're going to come back through with some green floss, and underneath each one of the little flowers, we'll put 3 little stitches, 3 little cable stitches, to be green little leaves underneath there. So let me get my green floss. Got my green floss right here. Let me get my needle. Let me load my needle up again one last time. Okay, I've got my needle threaded. Let me tie a little overhand knot in there at the end of the floss. Okay, now we're going to come in on this, we're going to use the same 4 pleats that we used to make the flowerette. So we're going to come in right underneath where we started the flowerette. Can you see where I'm coming in at? Okay, now we're going to do an up cable, a down cable, and on the last up cable, we'll go into the back and finish off the little leaves. Can you see what I'm doing here? And so we'll go into the back and tie that off, and that finishes the first of the little set of leaves. Okay, I'll do one more and then I'll finish the rest of these off camera. Maybe I'll do 2 more. We'll see how long it takes me to get it done. Okay, so once again, on the second one, we're going to come in right underneath the little 6-petal flowerette and do an up cable, a down cable, and then go into the back on the 3rd cable. So there's 1, 2, and then on the 3rd one, go into the back. so we can tie it off. And that looks really sweet, doesn't it? Just gives it a little added depth and dimension. Okay, I'll finish the rest of these leaves off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay, I have completed all of the little green leaves underneath the 6-petal flowerets within the pink designs, and this completes our smocking sampler. Okay, now at this point in time, you have learned all of the basic stitches. You've learned how to count rows. You've learned how to read a graph. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. You've learned how to read a graph. You've learned how to read written instructions, okay? And you also, you know, we had a picture that I sent you in the email of a color picture of the completed project for you to look at. The reason I teach the way that I teach is because smocking plates themselves generally come with a color photograph, and then on the inside they'll have charts and written instructions. So I felt like that was a good way to kind of introduce you to what you'll see when you buy a smocking plate. This particular one has 2 color photographs. This is a yoke design, which is similar to our sampler in that it doesn't fan out. And then it also has a round neck design, or a bishop style dress design, if you're interested in that. Okay, all right, so like I said, you now know all of the basic stitches. We started with the stem stitch or the outline stitch, and then we did some cable or back smocking on the back of our sampler. And then we started just very slowly working towards some more complicated steps. So we did the chevrons, we did full space chevrons, we did a couple of half space chevrons, we did some half space chevrons with some extra cables in between them. Then we learned the trellis stitch. We learned to go all the way to full length trellises and half length trellises. We've learned how to do 6-petal flowerets. We've learned how to do there's more trellis stitching through here, but we learned how to do the little satin stitch, and then we did little flowerets with leaves underneath them also. So this gives you a good sampler, and I hope that by the time you complete doing all of the smocking, you'll be able to say 2 things. Number 1, you'll be able to say, boy, I'm proud of myself. And you can also tell, number 2, you can tell your friends and family, this is proof that I can happily stab something thousands of times. So that's just a little joke. Okay, so this completes lesson number 3 in Smock a Sampler for this particular lesson. Now, if you've been watching the videos and you haven't already emailed me, if you will email me, I will send you a copy of the instructions. I'll send you a photograph of the completed project for you to look at in color. And you'll just need to get your 7 inches of fabric, white fabric, get it pleated with 16 rows, and tie them off 2 at a time. You know, don't try to tie overhand knots on one piece of smocking or pleating thread. Always tie 2, sometimes even 3 together. Okay? All right. Well, that completes this project. Thank you.